Good morning, students. This is Sampat Bhadu, Assistant Professor of English, Govt College, Sri Dungargarh, Bikaner. Dear students, today we are going to take up the next poem entitled I'm Getting Old Now, composed by Robert Kroetch, a Canadian poet. Robert Kroetch is considered one of Canada's foremost practitioners and theoreticians of postmodern literature. Like many experimental writers, Crouch subverts such literary conventions as plot and character development and writes in a playful, ironic, and self reflexive style. Central to Crouch's fiction is the importance of place and its impact on psyche. He is particularly admired for his depictions of the Canadian prairie landscape. Let's discuss the poem. The poem brings out the poet's awareness of his advancing age. As he grows old, the memories of the past pain him since they are lost. The first part of poem symbolizes his dream about his childhood and his love and affection towards his mother. He recalls in his dream the day when he was standing in the garden over the hill with his mother and was playing amidst the pea plants. Later, he held the peas in her apron, which they had picked together. He could see the love and affection of the mother in her eyes when she compares him to be a bad weed, implying that he grew very fast, and that too like a bad boy. This is said in a rather endearing way. Endearing here means in a loving way. It is quite natural for mothers to speak about their naughty children in this manner. The second part of the poem symbolizes that he is close to death. He realizes the inevitability and accepts death as a friend. And dear students, this is the harsh reality that we cannot deny the fact that we are mortal. Eventually, we all have to meet the death. Since we are mortals, we human beings are mortals, so we are subject to death. Ultimately, we all have to die. The poet seems to suggest that he is waiting for death, watching. Waiting for death, watching out for it as one waits to meet a long lost friend you had almost forgotten. As he thinks about the death, he is again transported back to his old memories and dreams of his happy childhood. Let's take up the text. I'm getting old now, I can't tell. I dream a lot of my mother. In my dream last night, she was in the garden over the hill behind her house. She was standing. I was playing in the pea vines. We were both happy. Neither of us would move in the dream. Perhaps I wasn't playing, I was kneeling to pick peas. Dear students, the opening stanza has been taken from the poem I'm Getting Old Now, composed by a Canadian poet and scholar, Robert Kroetch. In the poem, the poet says that he is getting old and he can tell that as he has started dreaming a lot about his mother. As he is getting old, he thinks about the past and about all the sentimental and important memories to him. The poet said that he had a dream about his mother, and in the dream, She was in the garden near the hill behind his childhood house. He says that she was just standing and he was playing with the pea vines. In the dream, neither of them moved. This shows that it was a picture from the past. As neither of them moved in the memory, the poet tries to figure out what exactly they were doing. This first part of the poem symbolizes his dream about his childhood and his love and affection towards his lovely mother. Let's take up the next stanza. My mother held in her apron the peas we had picked together. She was standing still. I knew she was watching me. She was watching me grow like a bad weed. She liked to say that pleased her. The poet said that he knew she was watching that. He also knew that she watched him grow up like a bad weed, as she said. Later, she held the peas in her apron, which they had picked together. He could see the love and affection of the mother in her eyes when she compares him to be a bad weed, implying that he grew very fast, and that too like a bad boy. This is said in a rather endearing way, in a loving manner. It is natural for mothers to speak about their naughty children in this manner. Bad weed or bad boy, the poet is called by the mother. It is not called out of hate, but out of affection. And mothers used to call their children when they do some mischievous thing, they call them naughty and they call them bad. So behind this bad calling, behind the behind this calling, there is no bad intention of the mother. Rather, there is a good intention, there is affection or love that has been shown by the mother towards the children. Let's take up the next stanza and the last. I am getting old now. I wouldn't say I'm happy. Serene is an adequate word. Death is not quite the enemy it was. It's a kind of watching. Death begins to seem a friend that one has almost forgotten, then remembers again. In my dream last night, I was playing in the garden. The poet is getting old now, and he cannot say he is happy as he did not have a good time growing up, and he did not grow up to be the man that his mother wanted him to be. He does not think about death as an enemy. He was calm and not afraid of death. The poet gives the idea that he is almost waiting for death, watching out for its coming as one awaits the meeting with a long lost friend one has almost forgotten, and as he does so, once more he is transported back to his old memories and dreams of his happy childhood. The second part of the poem symbolizes that he is close to death and he realizes the inevitable fits and accepts death as a friend. Dear students, here we can compare this welcome to death by the poet to one more poet, that is John Donne. In John Donne's poem entitled Death Be Not Proud, what does John Donne do? John Donne welcomes death and he defies the death, he challenges the death. He says, "Oh death, don't feel proud of yourself. You must not be proud of yourself. Rather, you are nothing but a kind of gateway towards the heaven." What he calls this life, what he calls this body of human being, he calls that this human being's body is a kind of prison. And within that prison, our soul is imprisoned. Our soul is closed within this body. And when we die, our soul liberates. It gets freedom. It gets freed, and the soul goes to the heaven, the final abode of the soul. So, body here means life. What John Donne calls life is a kind of imprisonment for the human beings. So, death should not be proud. You must not be proud. Rather, challenge the death. He welcomes the death. In the same way, here in the present poem, I am getting old now. Robert Kroetch also accepts happily, welcomes warmly death, adore death. I am not afraid of you. Rather, I will get to the heaven. That's all for today, and have a nice day. Thank you for watching and listening to me.